Well, hello, and welcome to Friday Sips Live. As you can tell, I've got stand-in Dan here, the old bottle of Booker's. Dan had a rough week. He found his way to COVID this week, which is a shame, and so we won't get to hang out and drink today in person. We thought about trying a remote thing, but as COVID will do, it makes you not feel too good. But I want to talk about one of the more annoying things about whiskey these days, and that's us. It's the whiskey geeks. It's getting a little out of control, and it happens, I think it happens with every hobby. For about 2 decades, riding a bicycle, road cycling was a part of my everyday life. It happens in that hobby. It certainly has happened in whiskey, and that's probably COVID wasn't the worst thing that Dan went through this week. He also thought he found on shelves some bottles of Booker's at 120 for Bardstown batch, which is a lot of money for a bottle of Booker's, but that batch was good. And so he texted me, we were going to buy some. And then through some magic of greed, when the fella came back out of the back, he talked to the owner, and now they wanted $150 a bottle for those Booker's. That's tough to take. But it's because people come into this hobby and within 3 months are hunting whiskey. They're hunting. And that's the problem, I think. We're chasing it. That's the definition of inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods. Dan and I started the practical still because it just doesn't have to be that way. They're just as good whiskey we don't have to do that with. And we have to figure out how to rein the hobby in, because even our favorite, the old Wild Turkey 101, that's not supposed to be a $23 or $4 or $5 bottle. We think that's awesome today, and I'm happy to buy it at that, but that's supposed to be a $12 or $15 bottle of whiskey. And I'm happy for the industry, I'm happy for the jobs it creates, but man, it has just gotten absolutely ridiculous, to the point that I got to buy a bottle of, and I've got plenty of this. I've got this stuff just stacked up in the cabinet over there that I paid everywhere from, I don't know, $16 to $30 for. And my favorite little local place had these regular, not a store pick, just a regular expression for 25 bucks. I was happy to buy it. I really like this whiskey. It's just not a $25 bottle of whiskey. It's a $16 or $17 bottle of whiskey. So I don't know what we do, but I do think we need to band together and be a little more sensible. And maybe just like all the causes in the world, or many of the causes in the world, this one, in the grand scheme of things, is wholly unimportant. It just is. If people with too much money and too much time chase things around, that's nothing like hunger and poverty and discrimination and everything else that we need to deal with. But you got to do a little bit of everything. So I, for one, am going to double my efforts down. I've got a local store I really like. I will not chase things around. And I'm not saying I only buy things there. I'll certainly buy something somewhere else to support some other business. But 85%, 90% of my whiskey budget, actually our alcohol budget, beer, wine, spirits, goes to that one store. It's going to keep going to that one store because they've got a very fair system of doling out the nice whiskeys, and I'm going to keep supporting that. So let's see, comments. There's Larry. Hey Larry. There's some other guy. Slow guy on the fast ride. Who's that guy? That's Dan. Oh look, he saw Heaven, Hell, Bottled and Bond for the 7-year for $150. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And then Dan, it was even, 2 weeks ago, you thought you found a bottle of Booker for $69, only to get close enough to figure out it was $269. It's absurd. And I know there's price inflation. I don't expect everything to stay the same. And again, it's worth what somebody will pay for it. I'm just going to let everybody else pay for that stuff. And if I can build a relationship at a local store, and that gets me what it's gotten me in the last year or so, an Old Fitz Bottled and Bond 8-year. I'm looking at a Old Forester single barrel rye. Then that's what it's going to get me. And if it doesn't get me that, well, then I'm not going to drink that whiskey. That's the way I think of it. So let us, yeah, he saw that in California, $269 for Booker's. So let us have some whiskey. And it's fun. I don't normally, when I'm here, drink out of the little spirits, wine, and provision glasses, but I did remember that I have them. So to keep the same thing going, I'm going to drink some of the whiskey that we should all be drinking. This is the good old-fashioned Wild Turkey 101 bourbon. It is, as it notes, 101 proof, typically made up of 6, 7, and 8-year-old Wild Turkey bourbon. I love Wild Turkey bourbon. It smells delicious from here. I think everybody should drink Wild Turkey bourbon. I paid $38, $39 for that handle. It really shouldn't cost that, but to me, it's as good as most things I taste at 2 or 3 times the price. As you know, this is Dan and I's baseline whiskey. This is the one when we start losing a grip on reality. We come back to this one to baseline it. Yeah, Dan's only going to shop at my house from now on. I'll do the same. We'll just exchange shopping trips. This is delicious bourbon. I don't know why. I mean, I know why everybody gets hammered on it in college and can't quite recover and thinks it's something cheap and nasty. It's just delicious. It's the same. Wild Turkey only has one bourbon recipe, so it's the same. I'm also looking now at a Master's Keep, the latest release, that toasted barrel setup. Same bourbon in that. It gets treated differently, stores in different warehouses, etc. But it's the same bourbon. Yeah, everybody come to my house. Larry, you're welcome. Come on. Plane tickets are more expensive these days, but they're not more expensive than whiskey, and I got plenty of that. I don't know if you really can't see all the way back there, but I've got a bad, I'm not pointing at my bald head. I've got a bad open bottle problem, partially because of Fridays, because we keep opening bottles. But I have to do something with that. It's gotten out of control. So, drink Wild Turkey bourbon. If you like rye whiskey, I think that the $24, $25 Wild Turkey 101 rye is absolutely delicious. In fact, it won in some contest recently. It won in some spirits contest, and it's $25 a bottle. If you find the liter bottles, they're about $40. Delicious rye. I have a video I've never been able to finish where I lined up Wild Turkey 101 rye, Russell 6-year rye, the Wild Turkey rare breed rye, a Russell single barrel rye, and the Master's Keep Cornerstone rye. And I was going to see if I could taste the difference in those. And it was kind of a cluster. I was drunk too quick, and after 5 minutes, I had no idea what I was doing. At the end of the day, I think I got 2 of them right, but I did successfully separate those into chill filtered and non-chill filter groups. But honestly, you're talking about $25 on one end of the spectrum, $175 on the other end of the spectrum. There's not that much difference in those whiskeys. So I'm going to put this to you guys. What will we do? Or maybe you don't care about this as much as I do, but what would you do to try and curb this craziness? And what are the whiskeys that fall into that for you guys? So what are the whiskeys that are affordable and available that you drink on a regular basis? It looks like it's the Dan show. I'll just sit here and read comments. Hey, Bender. Outing shops that gouge. Yeah, there's an Instagram guy called Overpriced Bourbon, I think it is, and that's what he does, or they do, whoever that is. And people from all over the world will send him pictures of shelves with tags. Old Forester 100, can't beat it. It's delicious. Wild Turkey 101 rye is absolutely fabulous. So, as you guys are dropping those in the comments, what do you drink that's affordable? I do hate that $50 bottles are now, they're creeping towards budget. But I will say that this bottle, the Four Roses limited edition, not limited edition, the Four Roses small batch select, I do have the limited edition over there. This one got to be one of the best bottles under $100, and these are about 60. They ticked up a little bit around here, but they've dropped back down to about $60. And I don't know that you can beat this. I think it's this one. It's the Old Forester 1920. Those are two of the best bottles under 100. So Larry's, he's with me. Wild Turkey 101, the rye. Yeah, Knob Creek. I don't have a Knob Creek bourbon right now. I got a store pick. Knob Creek rye is outstanding. And these are $27 here in town. The 100 proof regular expression. It's hard to beat that. Evan Williams Black. Yeah, Dan's a big Evan Williams Black fan too, ever since I snuck one in on him on a blind tasting. Rittenhouse, yeah, see, that's it. And like Larry said, and many more. There's plenty more. We don't need to chase this stuff around. If an opportunity presents itself where a sought-after bourbon lands in your lap or in your glass, and you're of the mind to pay for it, I'm saying do that. What's bothering me is, and I don't know why stores, speaking of outing stores, I don't know why stores sell bourbon, high-end bourbon, to people that are hunters, that come in, what you got, that whole every meme that's out there. I would just not sell anything to those people. I would reward, and that's another good question, what should the stores be doing? In my mind, every store these days, apart from maybe some tiny mom and pops, have point of sale systems that track the customers and track what we buy. If that store I go to, Hazel's here in Boulder, looks at that, they're not going to see that I only buy high-end bourbon. They're going to see that I buy this, and I buy beer, and I buy wine, and not a little bit of it, a lot of it. And I am in the store not just on Sunday when they had their super special, and not just when the special allocation plan. And they reward that, which I think is fabulous. In fact, one of the stores here in town, which I don't buy a lot of whiskey from them these days, but we still go get steaks from them because they have a nice butcher, they just gave up years ago. They gave all their Pappy allocation to a local charity to auction off. They just gave up. Can't handle the volume of people that have never bought another thing from them asking them for whiskey. I would not sell whiskey hunters a damn thing. That's what I would do. Yeah. Yeah, Larry, that's true. And somebody asked a comment, I need to reply to more information about control states, but Larry lives in Alabama. That's where I'm from. Alabama is a control state. One of the few good things about control states is if you can find a bottle to buy, it's always at retail. The state, as inefficient as the states are, they're not interested in capitalizing on that. If you can line up and get one, you'll pay retail. That's the one bottle of Old Rip Van Winkle 10 I've ever had. I had that way. I stayed in line from, I don't remember. It wasn't 24 hours, but it was close, I think. And I paid $59 for it. And there was a guy in the parking lot offering $200 and $300 for them, even whatever that was, 8 or 10 years ago. Crazy. Let's see. Dan, in your honor, I shall have some Bookers. I don't know that I have that much more to say about that. That's what's important to me as it relates to whiskey. I will say that this is a time of year and that was the, what was that? Teresa's batch. That was my favorite until Bardstown. So that's good. And Booker's, I wish Booker's was more affordable and accessible. I'm not even sure if I care if it's affordable. Just wish it was accessible. Yes, I did start that story, Dan. That was the story that started us. So, I don't know. That's what I wanted to say. I want us to find a way to do better as bourbon consumers. And I think part of that is get knowledgeable. Drink some whiskey, find what works, understand what's just another bottle of sourced whiskey. Understand who's doing good stuff with sourced whiskey. Understand what you like and what your palate likes. And buy that stuff that's available. And don't chase the things that have just gone up and up and up in price. And don't think just because it's in a glass case, it's better. I think that's a play on the ignorance of some new bourbon buyers, that it's in a glass case, they'll pay extra for it. Trails Inn. I hadn't heard of Trails Inn 10-year. Finished in Oregon oak cask. 40, 50 bucks. Bender, that's a good one. Is that I've never heard of that. I'll look that up. There are deals out there. Bender says there are deals out there if you look. I agree 100%. And one thing, Dan, I always talk about is that whiskey's for drinking and sharing. It shouldn't be stuck on shelves. That's just a bad way to do that. And part of that sharing thing is friends. And this has been a rough week for me too. So life is short, and we don't know how short. So a good friend died yesterday back home in Alabama. And hadn't spent a lot of time with him in the last few years, but for a long time, we spent a lot of time together. And he was a good fellow. When my dad passed away, he was an amazing resource and friend during that time. And it's just another one of those reminders. We drink this bourbon, we create friendships. We should do that in other parts of our life. So if you got something you're sipping on, to my friend Kevin, I don't think Kevin drank whiskey much. But hug everybody. As all my dad used to say, hug your babies. We will, thank you, Dan. We will keep drinking. We'll fight the good fight. We'll drink the good whiskey. We'll have fun doing it. We'll share it with friends. And we're growing this thing. We really appreciate, Bender and Larry that show up every week, the folks that show up for us, the folks that watch after. But the number of podcasts and whiskey and YouTube channels is growing. Mountain bike title, lots of videos, great content about riding mountain bikes. Dan hosts a podcast called Slow Down the Fast Ride. That is more aimed towards road cycling and the cycling industry in general. We just brought a new podcast into the network called Mental Health Lead. That's one that I produce usually right here in the house, upstairs in my office, with my friend Bill Garrels. And Bill is a longtime endurance coach here in Boulder, multi-time Ironman finisher, even ultras, and he's really wanting to bring to light the fact that we're all struggling from time to time and that there are friends and people that can help us. So give Mental Health Lead a listen. You'll find that if you're subscribed to the Slow Down the Fast Ride newsletter, you'll have seen that this week, but search for that on any podcast platform. And let us know what you want to hear about. It's great that we're talking whiskey. We'll keep talking whiskey, but we want other topics too. So that is what I have to say today. I'm going to drink some more. And hey, we got lucky too, because I was complaining, or at least wondering a week or so ago, because lawn care here in the area has been on Saturdays, which is not exactly fun early in the morning. And I thought, I hope they change that soon. And they changed it to Friday, which is bad. But they weren't actually around while we were doing this. So that turned out to be good. See, some good things happen all the time. That is what I got to say. There's Donner Pass. Hey, man. Auburn, California. I went to Auburn University. That's where I met my wife. Springbank 10. I haven't had that in a long time. That's good stuff, though. Yeah, there you go. But we sure appreciate everybody watching. And I'm glad Dan got to watch. I don't know that he ever got to watch before. So maybe COVID has some benefits. Not really, but sure. Anyway, cheers. We'll talk to you next week. And let me know what y'all want to talk about next time.